Your boss. That's how we call it. Uh, just a little bit about myself. I am from New York City. Anybody ever been to New York City? Just a few people in here from Word of Life. They did open air down there. Open air evangelism is where you go out and you share the gospel. You share the love of God with people. Crazy people. All kinds of people walk by in New York City. And, some of them may curse at you or some of them may just go crazy. You just never know. But that's our mission. We have to share God's love wherever we go. I grew up in New York City. I grew up with two brothers, one older, one younger. So I'm a middle child. And you know what they say about the middle child is that we need the most attention in our household. And so that's what they say about the middle child. I grew up without a father figure in my life. And so my mother had to raise three boys. And she had to teach three boys how to be men. And she just couldn't teach us some of the things, because she taught us how to hold the door for a lady, open the door, let her walk through first, just the nice stuff. And my mother, she taught us, not to do bad things because we did bad things, we get disciplined, we get a spanking, we get our buns shuffled. And so growing up, my brothers and I, we like video games. Anybody like video games in here? I like video games. And so we love video games, and that's all we wanted to do, is just play video games. But my mother always bought us what we needed. And I went to public school. Anybody go to public school here? Or went to public school, still go to public school? All right, and in New York City, public school is, oh my goodness, it is crazy. I don't know where in Connecticut if it's crazy or not. Maybe they're more nicer up here than in New York City. But here's the key thing. On the first day of school, you must have new clothes. New clothes, new pair of jeans, new sneakers, new shirt, new everything. Everything has to be new on you, and that's going to determine your whole year. So nobody won't make fun of you. And thank God my mother was bought new stuff for me, new pair of pants, because the kids who came to school with, old pair of jeans, and they just got ripped on. They would make fun of them, and they would just tear them to shreds. And some of them would cry, some of them be angry. I wasn't angry because I always had new stuff, so I was like, oh, thank God I had to avoid that. But my grandmother was a key part of raising us, raising three boys, helping my mother raise three boys. And you know what? She bought us what we wanted. She bought us video games. She bought us new clothes. She bought us what we needed. But there came a time when I was 11 years old. I'm 24 now, so don't even do the math in your head. Okay, I was 11 back then. I'm 24 now, so that's 13 years. Yeah. Got my math up. Look at that. Back in high school. And so my grandmother, big part of our lives. And one day we was walking around the streets of Brooklyn. My grandmother, my mother, my brothers, myself, and these ladies approached us. And they asked us, do we, they wanted to talk to us about Jesus. Now, in my family, we knew God. We knew God, but we never had a personal relationship with Him. So these ladies, usually when somebody approaches you in New York City, they're trying to sell you something. They got their jackets out here, got the new DVDs, and, maybe they'll have food in their inside coat. Who knows what they have in there, but they just always trying to sell you something in New York City. But these ladies came to us and they started talking to us about Jesus. Who is Jesus? We got a lot of people who have different opinions on who is God, who is Jesus. And after about 5 to 10 minutes, right there on the streets of Brooklyn, we all bowed our heads in prayer, received Christ, right there on the streets of Brooklyn. Who would have knew, right? So life goes on. Life goes on. And every weekend we go to our grandmother's house because as boys we like to eat. We love food. And so we got three boys in the house. You better have 3 boxes of cereal, one for each boy. We love food. But this weekend we went to our grandmother's house. It was different because it was just something different. My grandmother wasn't feeling good, and she came out on a stoop. Man, I wish I had a chair. I have a chair. She came out on a stoop, and instantly, she wasn't feeling good. Usually, my grandmother's in a happy mood, but she wasn't feeling good this day. So she came out, and she said, "You know, guys, I just don't feel good." And so she sat down right here, and she leaned her head against the brick wall, and my mother began to panic. She panicked because this is her mother. So my mother panicked so much that she ran into the middle of the street and waved down a cop car. And the policemen, they got out. They said, "Hey, what's going on?" And so my mother told them about her mother. And the next thing you know, they called the fire department. Now, you don't usually call the fire department for this type of deal. Who do you call? Now, I have trouble pronouncing this word, so you're going to have to forgive me. The ambulance. They call it the ambulance. Right, ambulance. And I have trouble pronouncing that word, by the way, like in public school. So they called the fire department. And when the fire department came, they put an oxygen mask on my grandmother. And when they did that, my grandmother's eyes rolled to the back of her head. And so my mother began to panic. And she's panicking even more now. She's like, what are you guys doing to my grandma? What are you guys doing to my mother? What are you guys doing? You're not helping her. They said, "Ma'am, calm down. We're just giving her air to breathe, giving her oxygen." So after that whole scene was over, finally the ambulance came, and by the time they put my grandmother in the back of the truck, she was gone. She passed away. And so uh, that's just a story about my grandmother. Like it left my mother stranded because now who's gonna help my mother shop come school time? Or who's gonna buy this video game? What's gonna happen now? And so my family, there was a division in my family over my grandmother because people just, my family was just arguing over who's in the will and who's going to get money for my grandmother's death. Who's going to get the money? Who's going to get the house? And there was a division right there in my family. And that split my family up even until this day. And that was for 13 years, going on 13 years now. And so anyway, moving on to when I turned 16, we moved to Manhattan. And in Manhattan, there's a lot of Hispanics, so I learned a little bit of Spanish to talk to the girls specifically. That's why I learned a little bit of Spanish. And I had a friend named Jesse, and Jesse and I would always go to the public parks, and we would play basketball. You know Jesse, right? Mm-hmm. And we would play basketball, and we would talk to girls. That was our mission. As 16-year-old boys, that was our mission. And so one day, there was nobody playing basketball, there was nobody playing football, and he has this crazy idea of going to a church where there's girls in basketball. And he specifically went to youth group on Friday night just to talk to girls and play basketball. And he invited me to do the same thing. I'm down for it. There's girls in basketball there. Let's go. Whoever gets the most phone numbers wins. And that was our game plan. But before that could happen, that Friday night, we had to sit down and listen to a man named Reuben Ronda. And this man preached the gospel. And when he preached the gospel that night to me, I heard it back when I was 11 in the streets of Brooklyn. I heard it. But now I'm really listening. And that night I made a decision to follow Christ as my Lord and Savior. And from that day on, there's just been constant change. I began to go to church on Sunday. My friend Jesse didn't get saved till a year later. And because I would knock on his door and say, "Hey man, let's go to church. Let's go to church." And so he was like, okay, I'm coming. And if he would be all tired, wiping the crust out of his eye and stuff like that. And when church service was over, I see him come in. And I said, hey, was you in church? He was like, yeah, I was in church. I said, what did the pastor talk about? He said, oh, he talked about God. Oh, you wasn't here, man. Get out of here. Because every pastor talks about God, so he just knew, oh, yeah, he talked about God. But tonight, I want to share with you a characteristic of God. And it's called immutability. Anybody ever heard of that word? Immutability? Big word, right? Well, some BI students, word life students, we've heard of it. Can you guys say that with me? Immutability. Ooh, what was that? Immutability. Say that? What? Yeah, that's one thing right there. All right, let's all say it together. 1, 2, 3. Immutability. All right, big word. Here's how we're going to define it. Immutability. God never changes. God never changes. God's purpose do not change. God never grows in knowledge or wisdom. We do, right? We grow in knowledge and wisdom, going to school, or reading the Bible, or going to church on Sunday, and we grow in our knowledge of the Lord and in His Word, and we grow in wisdom. God never grows in knowledge or wisdom. God never improves upon His perfection, right? God never improves upon His perfection. And God never grows or develops any respect. Whereas we want respect. You know, in public school, everybody demanded respect. Even the bullies. When you got the bullies in high school, they want respect, and they go around bullying people, and they take their lunch money. They never took my lunch money, thank God. But respect. God never grows or develops any respect. And we live in a culture that's constantly changing, right? Mm-hmm. Everything is always changing in our culture. Everything's always changing. And so just a few examples of what changed video games. I love video games, right? Now, who remembers Sega Genesis? Anybody remember Sega Genesis? Sega? All right. See, you guys don't remember. You guys are too young for that. Look at that. You don't know like that. What about Super Nintendo? All right, see, we're moving on to Super Nintendo. All right. You got Super Nintendo back there. We have, what else do we have? Sega Dreamcast. Sega Dreamcast, everybody remember? Sonic the Hedgehog. And, all right. Mario. Not Dreamcast, but. Then we have PlayStation 1. PlayStation 1. Oh, that was the game, right? Man, nothing better than PlayStation 1. Then PlayStation 2 came out. Oh my goodness, we are constantly in a world of change here. What about music? 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 The 60s, you know, you got the slow music, and then the 70s, you just get a little faster. 80s, a little faster. 90s, man, it's over. Everybody is going crazy. Woo! So, thank goodness. And so there's always things changing in our culture. That's my point. So here are some things that we changed. What are some things that we changed personally? I want you guys to answer that. Clothes. Our clothes. We change our clothes. Our mind. We change our mind. Our hair. Our hair. All right. What are some other things that we changed? Our lifestyle. Personal lifestyle. Right. Let me get somebody else, bro. You got all the answers over here. What are some other things right here in front? What are some other things that we changed personally in our lives? Our attitude. Our attitude. All right. We changed our attitude. What else? Come on. I'm going to get us going here. Our taste. Oh, yeah. You got all the answers. I like you, bro. Well, I'm gonna let